Hey, welcome back, everybody. HSC Podcast 52. Got Big Box Steve on the mic. Got Big Smooth and Fresh West. Got the whole crew tonight. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Um, Again, asking for comments. What do you guys want us to talk about with this season, NFL season, which we normally talk about? Ending. We still got draft, we got combine, we got other stuff, but of course,
March
always happy to
Madness.
talk about stuff and of course March Madness, which we're going to start today. And as we get closer to the tournament, we'll definitely talking a lot more March Madness, going with picks and talk about our picks and brackets and things like that too. So if you are as much into NFL, but you're into the March Madness, you can get a lot of good info here. Hopefully, maybe better than we did last year.
Well, and then remember, I was in like the top 94% in the women's
Yeah, that's right. If
bracket.
you guys want some women's basketball tips, Big Smooth's your guy. uh, so I do want to talk some March Madness. Let's talk a little bit of football first because obviously Combine has started. And kind of one thing about the Combine, I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. Um, Now I can't remember Detroit's coach. What's his name?
Campbell.
Yeah, Campbell. So Campbell made an interesting comment about the Combine, which I really liked, and I want to see what you guys thought about this. He says, the combine is fine, right? But it's really about just going there to meet players because if you really want to know what a player is all about, it's from the tape, right? It's from watching the tape. It's not about how fast they can run, how high they can jump, and things like that. So I thought that was a great comment. So I was curious how you guys think about that and how you would compare it to the combine and how important it is.
It's like a twofold. I feel like if you do poorly at the combine, then you look at and you're like, maybe the competition they were going up against maybe showing that they aren't as good as they are. So, like, if you're a receiver or running back and your 40 time is like a 4.8 or something, it's going to dip you, even if you have great tape. Because the NFL is different. You're not going to want someone who like runs a 4.8, 5.2.
Unless you're the Patriots.
Who was there was one running back, I think he was it Mendenhall, or there was one that went to the Steelers late, but he was going to be like a second round pick, but then he ran a 5,
Right.
and then he went undrafted.
Right.
But people like what Nolan Smith did and everything. That's cool, and he might, I mean, move up, but he was already a top 20 draft pick.
Yeah. But it could potentially move him up a little bit for sure. I think when you're talking about guys in that first round, I do so. I guess my only caveat to how what I believe and what Campbell's saying is I do believe with first rounders, some of those matter, right? Because rounders are typically going to be the higher IQ players, the better players in general, the guys that you've seen the tape of that they've played on national championship teams and done that. So those little things that the combine numbers can tell you does make a difference a little bit, for some of those top picks.
Right.
What do you think, Wes?
I was looking at reference.com on the Raiders, their defense and, a lot of teams' defenses, and there's a lot of needs. Especially, like, I'm going to use the Raiders as an example. They literally have probably four good players on their defense. The problem is they need 12 more. And so um, I look at the way the Bills are building their defense. Not talking about their offense, talking about their defense. It's like you need backups for backups. And I think there's a lot of temptation for the Raiders to start trading up for a quarterback. You know, if Levis falls to you, congratulations. Take him. But they shouldn't be trading away picks.
Mm-hmm. But
Teams
how
should
does how does that relate to how would the Raiders would look at the combine then? So, how do you think? they should be viewing the combine, thinking about what their needs are.
They're gonna look at Will Levis and they're gonna look at, Richardson. Because honestly, there's no reason Richardson's not gonna fall to them.
He's not.
Levis is probably not, because you know why? Seattle's gonna be to stick the middle finger to the Raiders and say, you know what? Screw you.
Well, Seattle is talking quarterback, which I thought was interesting
Yeah.
because you would think, I mean, in my opinion, if I'm Seattle, I'm thinking quarterback next year, given what Geno Smith did this year.
No.
Well, where they're at, if it plays out that it's Young and Stroud 1 and 2, and they get, because Richardson's perfect for a team that wants to sit him for a year behind someone. But here's my caveat, and Wes is going to probably blow his mind up. Richardson's probably going to go in the top 2.
Interesting.
He's most talented of all the quarterbacks.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. I agree with that.
And right now they're talking at the combines. He's blowing everyone away in the interview process. And when you look at the tape, they're showing, and I forgot who it was. I was like Ryan Clark or one of them. And he's like, you're watching the tape and you look for the most athletic or best player. And he's like, he was the best player in every game he played, like the most athletic. And you could say that about Josh Allen or Trey Lance. They were the most athletic, but they were at Wyoming and North Dakota State, and Richardson was in the SEC. So that is what these GMs are like, oh my gosh. And their own hubris is going to think, well, we can make this guy into the greatest ever. Even though it's a reach, he shouldn't go in the top 2, but he has more talent than everyone. So that's why a team is going to want him. And they're not going to let him. Like everyone was talking about Malik Willis. Richardson's like 20 times better than Malik Willis. And you can even see it in the deep throws.
Right.
Because he has an arm too. So I won't be surprised if Richardson goes 1 or 2.
What kind of Vegas odds can you get on that?
What are like Bryce Young and stuff? I would go 750 probably.
Yeah, right. I mean, because
but it's also
Bryce
early.
Young, yeah. Well, what do you think about that, Wes? How do you feel about Richardson being a number 1 or number 2 overall pick?
It just depends who wants to trade up for him. Does Houston want? Because I think someone's going to trade up for Bryce Young at 1, and it seems like it's going to be the Colts. So the Bears are going to trade down a couple spots. Bryce Young is probably going to go 1. Stroud's going to go 2. So if that's the case, who really wants Stroud at 2? Maybe that's what it is. Richardson is a great talent, but is the Houston Texans really going to be like, hey, you know what? We're going to mortgage our whole future on him?
Yeah, I mean, Davis Mills can play for another year, right? And then Richardson could sit behind him. And it's kind of the situation where if they go, 0 and 5 or 1 and 5, whatever, now Richardson may come in if you draft him to sit behind Mills to watch for a little bit. Kind of like the Field situation, right? What he did he got pushed in a little quicker because of an injury, but he would have sat, for like the first 6, 7, 8 games and then came in. The one thing I will say is I did watch a full thing of Richardson's highlights plays. And granted, these are highlight plays, right? But there was probably 20, 30 plays that they showed from him. He is easily the most athletic quarterback. And a lot of them, he was throwing some really nice deep balls on target, carrying in the air 40, 50 yards, over the shoulder.
Yeah.
So his tape was good.
I watched those tapes, And I do not doubt his ability. What I doubt is the same thing that we've been talking about the last fucking year with all the coaches in the NFL. Honestly, what I believe is all these coaches, they're just cutting paychecks. Like, of course, Richardson should be one of the best players in the draft. He should be a successful NFL quarterback, but you're gonna have to work with the guy. It's just like the safe pick is Bryce Young. The safe pick is CJ Stroud. Fuck, even if
Yeah,
Levis falls to the Raiders, that's pretty safe because you don't have to give up shit for him.
I'm
Well,
taking
Richardson can
right,
fall to
right.
the Raiders.
I'm taking Richardson before I'm taking Levis personally. Again, this is my thought process would be I definitely think Bryce Young probably goes number one as the first quarterback, right? Because maybe the Bears might not get the ability to take. Maybe nobody ends up trading with them, and they have to take, Al Anderson or who knows what's going to happen with Carter at this point.
Right.
So because the Bears have no choice, they can't take a quarterback, right? So they're going to have to go defense,
Yeah.
and I think Bryce Young goes as the first quarterback. I really do, just because of overall, like how much he's played, what he looks like when he's played. He played at Alabama. He's got all the tools except some of the physical tools that they like some quarterbacks to have these days. And so kind of talking about Derek's point or his thought process of him going number one or two. How much does a guy like Jalen Hurts and guys like Justin Fields and the different things that they're doing on the field, how much does that help a guy like Richardson's stock coming into the league?
Well, I'm going to tell you, it's not those guys. He's more comparable to Josh Allen or Justin Herbert. I think those are the guys they're looking at for Anthony Richardson as comparable to. Strong arm, big, muscular guy who can run people over. Because he's not, I mean, if you want to compare for Jalen Hurts, it would be Bryce Young because they're both small. Where Richardson's like the prototypical quarterback that also can run like a 4.3
Well,
40.
yeah, I'm more talking about his running ability because if you watch his run, some of the tape of him, his runs he's making, he looks. If you didn't know if it was Justin Fields or Richardson running the ball, they look exactly the same when they're running the ball.
Well,
Uh,
that's why I think he's like the number one. I could see him. I don't personally think I could see him going number one because if you got someone who runs like Justin Fields, but can throw the ball like Josh Allen,
right, right.
I mean, and you just have to mold him a little bit because everyone talks about his completion percentage isn't that good. Well, either it was Josh Allen's in college.
Yeah.
He was at Wyoming.
Right.
Richardson was going up against the SEC defenses.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the whole thing. It's like, so Derek, what do you think is going to happen with Richardson? Do you think someone's going to trade up for him?
Well, it's still early because everything fluctuates. But yeah, I think what is going on is because Pete Carroll's smart and Snyder is smart, and they're putting out there that they want a quarterback,
Right.
but they don't.
Hey,
They want one of those defenses.
that's funny you said that because that's what I was telling my dad earlier about the Seahawks. Because I know the Seahawks are like, we're gonna screw with the Raiders. Like, I think people underestimate how much the Seahawks hate the Raiders because they were rivals. And you know what?
Oh
It's
yeah,
like,
long time.
hey, we would love you guys to trade up 2 spots to take one of these quarterbacks.
Well, because you're looking at the Seahawks are at 6, right?
Yeah.
They
Are
need.
they at 6 or 5?
I thought it was 5.
Are
I
they
think they're
5?
5.
Are the Lions 6?
The Lions are 6. I think the Seahawks are 5.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
then,
Seahawks 5, Lions 6.
well, then they're actually they just need three teams to draft quarterbacks ahead of them, right?
Right.
And then they get either Carter or Anderson. And that's what they want.
Right.
They're looking at it and we're like, we're here. We're going to say we're going to draft a quarterback. So if you want Richardson or Levis
You
or
better
Stroud
trade
or
up.
Young, you
Right.
got to trade above us with the
Let's trade
Cardinals.
up.
Because that's who's going to have to be. You're going to have to trade with the Cardinals probably.
Or so maybe what Wes is saying, which I agree, I say it could be a thing. Maybe they're like saying, "Hey, Raiders, you need to take us our fifth, and we'll take seventh," because they know Detroit's not going quarterback, right?
Well, you don't know that though, do you?
No, Goff had too good of a year, and he's too young at this point
Yeah.
to make that change.
Yeah, but well, that's
We
true.
all we
But what if
okay, but we
what
all
if
know that
everything
Goff is
goes
not.
off and Stroud is there for the Lions?
Yeah.
right. Well, I still think the Lions think they got to go defense because there's going to be good defensive players in the top 10, and
Right.
they
They got
need
two firsts
defense.
though, so they can always
Right.
go defense with the if that's the thing is that's why with Seattle and the Texans, you don't have that many opportunities to have two first round picks and
Right.
one be where you could get a franchise quarterback.
If Detroit doesn't take Porter Jr., that'd be the shock of the year for me.
Oh,
They
really, I
they
would think they're
they
going to take Wilson.
they need a cornerback so bad.
Yeah, can't they get him in like what do they got 18 or something?
No, Porter, I think will go top. He'll be the first corner taken.
I think it's either going to be Gonzalez or Weatherspoon.
I like Porter better personally, and I've seen a lot of mocks with him higher, and you don't know, right? Because that's when all this that combine stuff comes into play, and them
I'm
talking to him and meeting with him. I like Gonzalez a lot too. I think
I'm
Gonzalez is a good pick.
weary, and I bet Detroit's weary about taking a corner in the top 10.
Yeah, well, everybody should be because it doesn't work out very well
Well,
very
because
often.
the Lions already did it
Right,
with Akuda.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but maybe you get like a Sauce Gardner, I mean, because that's a guy for a long time. Like you want that. Like if you can get a
Well,
Sauce Gardner, you're set
So
for
we're
would you
half
hoping.
of
take
your
Porter
field.
Jr. over Wilson?
I think Wilson's the third of them. I would take Gonzalez over Wilson.
No, Wilson's the D end from Texas A&M.
Oh, you're talking about that. I thought who's the other guy you're talking about?
Weatherspoon.
Weatherspoon, yeah. No, Wilson, that's a tough one
The dude's got like
for
a. Have you seen his wingspan?
but for me at Detroit, like I don't think that's a primary need since you just got Hutch last year, you know, in your secondary got roasted all year, right? You have to build there. So again, I'm looking at it as a need, right? And I do think it's Gonzalez or Porter for sure. And I really believe they're taking Porter. But we'll see how the combine comes out for that. I think that might matter.
Right.
So then you got Tampa, right? So we got Tampa, we got Carolina need quarterbacks. So all these teams those two teams need to move up if they
The
want one of these
NFC South
quarterbacks.
all need
Well,
quarterback.
Tampa's that there's no way they can move up. I think
I
they're
mean,
done.
trades happen. I mean,
They're going with
I
Trask.
mean,
They're going with Trask. They already released Fournette. I
right.
think
They
they're
just
not
released
going to
Fournette.
re-sign Levante David. I think they're going to start rebuilding.
Right.
And then, we don't know where Carr's going.
well,
Carr met with Carolina today.
Yeah, he's met with
so
Carolina, the Saints, and the Jets. He's met
Yeah.
with the Jets and Saints twice. So
he should probably go to the Saints
I think he's
because
going to the
next year,
Jets.
no, absolutely not. The problem with the Jets is you're in the same division of the Bills and the Dolphins.
but
If
you
you
have the
go to the
better team,
Saints,
though.
I mean,
if you go to the Saints, you have no competition.
You
They're
Dolphins
got
going to
don't
the
Dennis
impress
Allen
playoffs.
as
me.
your head coach.
Derek Carr is the starting quarterback for the Saints.
Right.
Are they
I
not
guess
winning the division?
I guess that is a good point because that is a terrible division, right?
It's terrible.
Um,
They have no quarterbacks.
Okay, so can you win a Super Bowl with the Saints?
you can't. That's the problem. So it doesn't matter if you
But
can
you
win your
can with the
division, but
Jets.
you definitely can
Well,
in a year or
the
two,
problem
maybe
is you
two
got
two
to
or 3
go through
years.
the Bills because the Bills are the favorites next year. I don't care what
Oh, yeah.
freaking odds says about Kansas City. Kansas City got so lucky to win the Super Bowl this year. They should have won it.
Yeah.
It was
Well, we said
fucking
that last year
silly.
about Kansas City too, and
And
they
and the
surprised
Bills
us.
are so loaded. You're gonna tell me that The Bills are gonna be loaded for the next 3 years.
Yeah, especially if they get Derrick Henry.
John, I mean, yeah, they're going to be.
Do you hear that?
And then the Dolphins aren't getting any weaker. I don't care what you would at Tua. They're already talking about Tua retiring. That's
fine. But who they're going to have a quarterback? You saw what happened to the Dolphins
figure it out.
Tua got hurt.
Yeah.
Because if
I'm not sold on the Dolphins.
They are going to trade for a quarterback, even if it's Aaron Rodgers. You never know. That's what.
Yeah.
I mean, this whole weird thing with Aaron Rodgers, it could be all about the Dolphins.
But if I'm Derek Carr, am I really shying away from competition? You played against it. I mean, he wants to go to a place where he can win, and that's the best team, right?
What?
The Jets.
For him to go to have a chance to win.
Team. The problem is he has too much competition.
Yeah, but the Saints.
Derek Carr is not a guy
are going to release Michael Thomas. They're in salary cap purgatory. They're not going to get any better. The Jets they got Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson. They have a good offensive line, good running game, good.
But are we talking about the AFC is much stronger than the NFC?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
The only thing that matters is Super Bowl wins.
If you look at next year, and this is what everybody has to understand about the NFC next year, we do know if Brock Purdy is going to be ready next year to play.
Trey Lance.
No. Kidding me?
Trey
Lance.
You never know.
You never know, but the thing is, that's the whole problem is you want a guarantee. And what's a better guarantee than Aaron Rodgers? Like I said, I'm kind of wondering if Aaron Rodgers, hey, he's like saying, you know what? Packers, I want to play for the Niners or the Cowboys. Trade me over there. If not, I'll retire.
He already said he doesn't want to play for the Niners. He actually came out and said that.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that he wouldn't play for the Niners. I mean, you could say anything you want, right? At the end of the day,
it's about winning a Super Bowl.
But if what you're saying,
you're
saying you need to be in a weak division. What? So like Aaron Rodgers should just stay where he's at then. Because you're telling him to go to the Niners, and you've got the Seahawks, the Rams will be back.
Well,
that's not a weak division. You're telling Derek Carr to go to the Saints because it's a weak division, but you're telling Aaron Rodgers to go to either the Cowboys or the Niners, which are two strong divisions.
Well, they got legit defenses. That's the only difference.
Well, the Jets do too. The Jets have a really legit defense.
Yeah, their defense is coming around.
Their defense is good. Yeah, you're right there, Derek. I get what you're saying. It's kind of a conundrum for these quarterbacks because, look, what do you really?
Carr has enough time though, dude. Carr has enough time in his career that he can go to the Jets and have a chance to win a Super Bowl in the next 2 to 3 years because of their team's going to evolve. They have a lot of young players. They got money to spend on new free agents. It doesn't matter how good the division is. I don't think that should matter, and I don't think that matters to Carr personally. He's a competitor. He's an athlete. Right, well, you want to go where you can win,
and he doesn't want to be in a dumpster fire anymore. And he wants to go. And I think with the Saints, in the next you got Kamara's coming up on assault charges. Who knows how many games he's suspended for next year?
Like Michael Thomas is done.
Yeah, Michael Thomas is getting released. They're going to be in salary cap purgatory because they've been wheeling and dealing stuff, but it's going to catch up with them sooner or later. They lost Armstead last year, so the offensive line isn't as good.
The Saints are going to do so. The Saints need to do something to make a move for a young quarterback, for a rebuild quarterback. They can't. They don't want a guy like Carr.
Dennis Allen, Carr knows he's not a good coach.
Yeah.
Right.
What about Carolina? Is Carolina a possible spot for Carr?
Yeah. The only issue with them, who do they? Well, trading McCaffrey, they lost most of their weapons.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, they don't have any real weapons, but they still played well.
Yeah. And then you're playing for Frank Reich,
Right.
right? So, but
I
they
don't.
were.
I just don't see anywhere else for him but the Jets.
That's me too. I think if I'm not, and I get what Wes is saying, it's tougher to do, the harder road. Wes is thinking like LeBron James.
Right.
I want to go where it's easy to make it to the finals and lose.
Easy to win.
But I'm looking at if I want to go to the best team and prove that I'm a winner, right? Because that's the big thing is everyone's like saying, oh, it's Carr's fault the Raiders suck. No, the Raiders suck because the organization is ridiculously stupid and have wasted all the draft capital in the last 5 years.
Did you
20 years.
Have you guys seen the Matthew Stafford and Derek Carr stats?
I told you that last year. They're pretty much the same.
It's so close. It's crazy how almost identical their stats are when he's at the Raiders and Stafford's at Detroit. And then the meme of like showing that Stafford left Detroit with the exact same stats Derek Carr had, and then goes to the Rams and wins the Super Bowl. They literally had like the same losing percentage and the same interception touchdown ratio, the same amount of yards, like all their stats were almost identical. And then Stafford leaves Detroit and wins the Super Bowl.
And you know how it was all the talking heads were saying how great Stafford was, right?
Right.
I'm saying, yeah. That's why if Carr goes to the Jets, first off, he's a leader, right? He's a leader of men. And these are all young guys. So they're going to want that.
Also, I think if he goes to the Jets, you actually are going to find out if he really is a leader, if he really is a competitor.
I think.
Well, he's already a leader because he took the team to the playoffs last year after having a player kill somebody and a coach getting kicked out and him having to like lead the team. And he was the guy that did all the press conferences. It wasn't Mark Davis. Mark Davis was kicking back in the office, not even coming to the podium after all that stuff. They put Carr out there to.
The point is, it's his chance to prove himself, I think.
Yeah.
When he goes to another team, especially
I don't think about
Jets.
Leadership. I think about he needs to prove himself
right
on the field.
Right. Yeah, as a player, as a team captain, a player, and now he's going to show, does he really have the talent to lead a team? Because you can't go to a team like the Jets in 2 or 3 years down the road and say you didn't have a chance to succeed. Because they have a lot more tools, and better defense, better young guys, more space to get free agents. So,
yeah.
And I think for him, everyone's like, oh, he's soft when it comes to the media. And it's like, dude, he was like one of the best players the Raiders ever have had in the last 20 years. And he got dogged nonstop. The Jets, they're going to like appreciate him.
Yeah. He took the brunt of most of the criticism for the Raiders for a long time, which was that's the tough part of the position he was in, being one of the better players that they've had in a while.
Well, yeah, and that's my apprehensive. Like part of it is going to the Jets. It's almost like he's going to the same situation in a sense with the media. That's the only thing I have a reservation with. I mean, of course, their division's loaded, but let's say the Bills win the Super Bowl this year. They're not going to win the Super Bowl every year. They're not going to, they can be beaten. They're not that great. That's why I think the Jets are kind of holding out Lamar Jackson in a certain extent. Because it's like, okay, he's 27 years old.
They were talking Lamar Jackson to the Dolphins.
Well, it's basically the same scenario here. It's the same division, same shit.
Can you imagine if Lamar Jackson goes to the Dolphins and then Carr goes to the Jets, and then you still got the Patriots in that division?
Mm-hmm.
Like that is a loaded division. I don't care who's at quarterback for the Patriots, dude. Like the Patriots somehow are just always good.
Well, they're always good. The problem is it's not Tom Brady anymore. It's mac and cheese.
They still almost made the playoffs. Like the worst team I've ever seen. The Patriots almost make the playoffs missed it by one game that they could have won.
But see, that's the problem with
Their team
Mac
was
Jones. It's like
awful.
they're trying to make excuses for Mac Jones. It's like you don't have to make excuses for him. He's an average quarterback.
Here,
Average quarterbacks don't win Super Bowls.
I'm going to make Trent Dilfer. I'm Brad
Yeah,
Johnson.
Trent Dilfer.
I'm going to make an excuse for Mac Jones. How many successful quarterbacks had a defensive coordinator as an offensive coordinator?
Right.
We know how stupid the Patriots were for doing that. That's
Yeah.
just the
So
most
I'm going to give
dumber
him.
thing ever.
I'm going to give him a
But
mulligan.
he also doesn't have weapons. Remember, Brady, honestly, Brady never had any weapons, but he made it work. They went to 10 Super Bowls.
Yeah. Well,
The difference
some
is
of those
that
years he had weapons. Let's not
Yeah.
what?
say that Randy Moss wasn't on the team
And
or
That was 1
Gronkowski.
year. We're talking
Gronkowski's a
1
good
year out of
weapon.
10.
Gronkowski
And
was there a bunch. Aaron Hernandez,
Edelman and
Wes
the other
Welker.
Wes Welker. I mean, those guys are good. Like he didn't have besides Randy Moss, he and Gronk. So those are two superstars he played with, but he didn't have a course like the Justin Jefferson type. No, right? He didn't have Devontae Adams, but
And I mean, you're talking Jacoby Myers is Mac Jones' best receiver.
well,
He wouldn't
yeah,
even been like he'd be like
no.
fifth string for Brady.
Well, and he's gone anyway. They're going to let him go anyway.
Yeah, Nelson Aguilar, just like the best thing was ever when Aguilar was on the Eagles and the fireman was like, when they threw the baby down him, and he's like, "Good thing I don't have hands like Nelson Aguilar." After he saves a baby, he digs
And,
Aguilar.
yeah, I understand the point though of that. That is a tough division, but I still think that he's going to try to go to where he thinks he can win, and I think his best option is the Jets. Um, but so that's interesting for the Raiders. See, now so the Raiders, we know the Bucks need a quarterback. We know the Saints need a quarterback. We know Carolina needs a quarterback. The Colts need a quarterback. Technically, the Commanders need a quarterback. Texans
Falcons.
obviously, Falcons now, right? Because they're talking about so Mariota's obviously going to a backup somewhere else. I think he's going to Miami possibly.
Miami needs a quarterback.
Even the Falcons, like you can't even say Desmond Ritter is going to be your starter,
No. Tennessee needs a quarterback. Tannehill's gone.
right?
Um,
So this makes it really interesting for the draft, though, for this top 10 because you have four good quarterbacks, right? And you got about 10 teams at least that really need a quarterback. And I don't see how like the Bears can't come out of this really well with picks. And
mhm.
if I'm Arizona and Seattle, I'm thinking the same thing.
The Texans should even be thinking that too.
Why not like play your cards to just be like try to get a lot of drafts
Mhm.
capital or a player and a pick,
Especially like the Cardinals, because they need a lot.
right? Oh yeah, and at 3, like that's a great chance to say, look, you could jump ahead here and guarantee you one of the top 4 quarterbacks.
Yeah, because if let's say if Stroud and Young go 1-2, someone's going to be itching to get to 3.
Right. Yeah, this would be interesting. I'm actually really excited to see what's going to happen here in the upcoming draft. There's some free agent moves I definitely want to see what happens there, but I think the draft right now to me is
Well,
going to be
because it's pretty much it's Carr and Rogers, right? And
right.
I doubt the Ravens, their friend, they're gonna either they're French, they're not trading him this year. Lamar Jackson's on the Ravens this year.
Right, right.
And then if Jimmy G's asking for like 25 mil, and see, that's where I goes to Wes when you were saying the Raiders shouldn't trade up. Oh, yes, they should. Because if you don't trade up, you're
You
stuck
can
with
get
either
Jimmy
Jimmy
G.
G, Brissett, or Stidham, right?
Well,
And then your Devontae
so
Adams is going to get pissed because then you're not going to.
well, no, they could trade up. I mean, but are they trading up for Richardson? Or are they trading up for who are they trading up for? That's the question.
Yeah. Well, yeah. For me, and I'm sorry, I'm not a fan of Levis, but if you get one of the other three, that's a
Because
win.
because 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 I almost think Seattle is going to say, you know what, we'll fucking take Levis because we shouldn't. Even, I mean, we don't even deserve this pick until someone says, you know what, they want Levis, which the Raiders kind of want Levis. Why wouldn't you want Levis at this
Well,
point?
we'll see here because he's going to be a combine
Oh
hero.
yeah, we're gonna see about the combine.
Boy,
You
there's a
know,
lot of free agents. I mean, I know some of these are going to be tagged, but man, free agents is going to be crazy.
yeah,
Well, you look at the Giants, if they don't sign Daniel Jones,
yeah,
they're going to have to tag him in
Yeah.
Barkley's free agent.
Well, 45 million. I mean, that guy's nuts.
no, you're gonna pay 45 million for fucking Daniel Jones. Why?
Well, that's why Jimmy G can get 20 million.
Yeah.
Um, I think to the point that Derek just made, I wanted to make a quick point on that was I think you're right that all the Raiders have to do is put themselves in this position to get one of the three quarterbacks. But you want to guarantee yourself that
No, there's
position.
four.
Well,
I'm not counting
I'm not.
Levis.
Yeah, I'm not counting Levis either.
There's Richardson. Dude, trust me, Richardson's gonna be in the conversation.
Yeah,
Oh, I
no,
know.
that's what I'm saying. So Richardson, Stroud, and Young, right?
That's who.
So
Those are the three I want.
so
One
if
of those.
you got to get though, I think if you want to guarantee yourself that you got to get top five or better, right?
Well, and that's the thing is, when you go and you decide to get rid of Carr, you have to go with a young quarterback.
Yeah.
Because what's the difference of signing Jimmy G to 25 million besides keeping Carr?
Right.
Right? The whole
I think also what people need to understand too, and I think the Raiders are gonna get hopefully the Raiders are smart enough to understand this, is the 5 and 6 pick. 5 is Seahawks, and 6 is the Lions. And they really could do without a quarterback if they had to. So you're going to have teams down the pike saying, you know what? No, we're going to trade up and we're going to take the Raiders quarterback in front of them.
Right. Well, that's the
We'll
thing
take
is
Levis. We'll take Richardson.
right.
And so the Raiders are going to sit 7 and like, oh, yeah, we're going to get a quarterback. You might not get a quarterback.
I don't think they do get one of those
they
three
have to
at 7.
they have to trade.
I think they have to trade up.
Yeah. Yeah, they do
It's kind of
because
stupid, but you might
you're
have
gonna
to trade
have
up 2 spots.
you're gonna have teams like Carolina who have a fairly early pick saying, let's just move up to 5 or 4, or I mean, or 5 or 3, and get a quarterback. And now the Raiders then have to go, okay, now we got to move up to 2 or 3 or 1.
And the Raiders can't afford to give up picks because their defense is so terrible. Like
but
they only have 4 good players on defense.
But
And on a defense to win a Super Bowl, you need like 12 decent players.
I know you're not talking about the
And they
Raiders
got
in the
4.
Super Bowl.
Huh?
But what I'm going to say
Well,
is
if you're gonna, if that's what it's all about. Is
well, not right now.
the whole
what I'm
reason
saying
you
is-
draft a quarterback. The whole reason you draft a quarterback is so you can sign free agents. You could trade for Jalen Ramsey. You can sign Levante David. You could sign because you'll have all that cap space. They have the 4th most cap space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I say, I think the issue is because here you think about the Bears, right? So the Bears trade back to 4 and to Indianapolis and get good draft stock, right? And now you've got these teams saying, well, I got to get up to 3 or 4 because maybe Carolina moves up to 5 at the Seahawks position, right? So now you got other teams like the Raiders and stuff saying, oh, great. Now Carolina or somebody else is at 5. Now the Bears are at 4. Now they trade back again to 7 and get a bunch more draft capital. The Bears could end up with like 6 picks for their number one draft pick.
Well, and then also, the red herring in here now is Jalen Carter.
Right. Because if he's
Is he
not
gonna
there,
drop?
that makes a huge difference too. Right.
If he drops, I read something where he might drop to 7. The Raiders are just going to have to take him.
Yeah.
But if they want a quarterback and they trade up, they're not going to take him above a quarterback.
It'll be quarterbacks next year. I mean,
well, but the caveat is if the teams like the Seahawks aren't going to trade out if they're like, oh, Jalen Carter's still here. You know
right.
what I mean?
Right.
Or if I'm the Lions, I'm like, I'm sorry, I could get Jalen Carter to be with Hutchinson.
Well, yeah, and if you're going to get him at 6, of course.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of dumb not. If you're the Lions, it's kind of dumb not to take fucking Jalen.
Right.
If Jalen Carter follows you, like, okay, I'll take him too.
Because then you get into, okay, Dan Campbell, use your coaching skills to get this guy in line.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he's out of line. I mean,
well,
it's still questionable.
It's not. The thing is, he's had issues before on other stuff. Right. They were talking about how he had questionable stuff before this incident happened.
But I always feel like this gets blown out of proportion when they start talking character with some of these guys, and it hurts their draft stock.
The thing is it's Henry Ruggs.
Yeah.
He's in jail now, and the Raiders, I mean, I hate to say it, but they lost a player. I mean, someone lost their life. So you got this Jalen Carter doing the exact same thing as him, and then lying to the police about it. Because that's what happened.
What's he lying about? Were they racing? They knew they were racing, or what?
Oh, that's what happened. Is they found out he pretended like he was a witness.
Okay.
That's why it didn't come. That's why it didn't leak or anything. And then they did some more investigating into it. And they go, "Oh no, man, you were racing these guys."
Right, but they're basing that off testimony of another person, though. So that's still not.
Well, and cameras.
The camera is of the car. It's not of him.
Yeah, well, it's his. They know he was there from the car, though.
Right. But again, there's no. His claim was he wasn't driving the car at first. And there's no picture of him driving the car. So the testimony is that he was in the car, and it's his car. So yes, I guess those match up. But again, you're also, like I said, you're talking about like a testimony of him versus.
But then it's still going into character because you're like in a car that's doing that, even if you're not driving.
Yeah, and I don't know that. So again, I still think that there's been character issues that have proven right, and there's character issues that are proven wrong, on the opposite side.
I think with this one, and I agree, I don't know any. I'm talking as an NFL GM or something.
Yeah.
And you see a guy doing this after Henry Ruggs did what he did, then you're thinking to yourself, am I going to spend a top 5, 6 pick on someone that's going to be a wasted pick?
No, they're protecting their pick and their capital, of course. They're looking at a different way.
Remember,
Jeremy Tunsil dropped a bunch just for smoking pot.
Right.
Remember, the X factor is this: is if you're the Seattle Seahawks or the Detroit Lions, it doesn't really matter. You guys shouldn't even have those fucking picks. Like you're. You should be happy, like, oh my god, I get the 5th. You guys are actually decent teams.
But
they're a lot better than the fucking Raiders. And then the Raiders sitting there like, we want your pick. We could take whoever we want. We could take Jalen Carter. And if quarterback Levis drops to us, we could take them. And then we could just sit there and just kind of give our middle finger to the Raiders, like, oh, you really want a quarterback? We want 2 first-round picks to move up 2 spots. And the Raiders have to make a decision. Are we going to do that?
I think if the Raiders want one of the top 3 quarterbacks, I think they have to go to 5.
Yeah.
I think they're going to 3. You got to go to 3.
Right. Well, because I really think that teams are it's gonna start when it gets close to the draft, and when the first trade happens, I think is when the snowball effect
Yeah.
happens. So as soon as like
You
the
never
Colts
know
trade
who
with the
can.
Bears
Look at the
or something,
Cardinals. Look at the Cardinals. You don't even know there are teams way down that can say, you know what? No, we want one of the four quarterbacks.
right?
We're gonna trade up. And the Raiders are gonna sit there like, oh no, they're gonna drop to us. It's like, no,
No,
it's
you
not
can't wait.
guaranteed.
That's what I'm saying is you can't wait for them to drop. Like if you
No.
want one of them, you're gonna have to because it's
Yeah.
gonna be a snowball effect with the first trade. The first trade is gonna be probably Indy saying, "Okay, Chicago,
Yeah.
we're taking number one from you," and then all of a sudden everybody's gonna be like, "Wait a minute, Indy's moving up. That means there's one of our quarterbacks gone, and now your second quarterback may be gone." And from the
Stroud's gonna
Texans,
go to Houston.
then you're like, "Oh, now we're getting nervous, right?"
Yeah.
So that'll be a weird snowball effect that I think will happen when the trades. So that you like the speculation is hard because until that first trade happens, you don't see how that snowball effect happens. And you're right, there could be, and you say, yeah, Tampa may be out of the bidding, but maybe Tampa's like, hey, Arizona, here's next year's first, here's our first, and here's Mike Evans, you know, and then all of a sudden Arizona's like, okay, you know, we're
That would still, that still wouldn't be enough because what are the Bucks like 20 something?
yeah, I mean, again, that's
I
just
think
off
the
the top of my head, right?
Yeah.
But I'm saying they could still make a move for it, right?
I think I
It
think
would
I
have to
think
be
I
a
think the
formidable trade.
Bucks I think the Bucks are at the position like we'll just start Trask.
I think so too. I think they're just
I mean, am I wrong? Like they're just gonna be like, you know what? Why don't we just see what we have with Trask?
I think they go
You
for
know,
Jimmy G. I think they're going to get Jimmy G.
maybe, yeah, that would make sense. But
But wouldn't you rather have C.J. Stroud or Richardson or
well,
somebody
well,
else?
not if you're giving up tons of stuff for them though.
Yeah. But everybody's going to eventually, most teams are going to have to do that if they want one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, Indy, look at Indy, you know, like they're going to have to give up a lot just to move up 3 spots.
yeah,
But
yeah.
we're not, the other thing is Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, they're not Peyton Manning. They're not Andrew
Right.
Luck. They're not
That's
the
true.
big, like,
They're not guarantees. And so if you're Tampa Bay, you're like, hey, Trask, I think they actually like Trask to a certain extent. Maybe they say, you know what, let's just roll Trask the next year, and he can't do it. There's quarterback. So what people understand is there's quarterbacks next year.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to be waiting for Caleb Williams next year.
Drake May.
Yeah, but
It's gonna happen.
everybody was waiting for Bryce Young this year. You know, I
Yes.
mean, it's like that every year. You know, when
Tua.
there's good quarterbacks,
Tanking for Tua.
right? Tanking for Tua.
They can do it.
Let's go back to Ryan Leaf. You know, everybody's like, oh, awesome. I want Ryan Leaf.
Not really.
You know,
DeMarcus Russell.
DeMarcus Russell. It always happens, dude. So this is not any different than any other year in the NFL. It's you get the quarterback that's good right now. You
But
do what
what
you can to
sucks
get
for
them.
a team like the Raiders, you're seeing it 7, and you're gonna sit there and say, "Well, we get Caleb Williams next year." No, you're sitting at 7. You're gonna have to make a decision.
Right.
You have draft capital. Like, if you want a quarterback, you're gonna have to make a decision. You're not, in my opinion, they're not getting the top 2 at all. You're drafting for a third, and a fourth.
Well, and the other thing is we're thinking of like what's best for the Raiders organization, but they're thinking Ziegler and McDaniels are thinking of what's best for their job.
Yeah.
So they're not going to be thinking about Caleb Williams because if they're having a chance to draft Caleb Williams,
they may
don't
not
have
be a coach anymore.
Or yeah. What I'm saying, that we're talking about, that's Tampa Bay. We're talking about Tampa Bay doesn't have the 7th pick. The Raiders do.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to make a decision. Here's the decision. They're saying 4 quarterbacks in the top 10. That means Richardson's one of them.
Right.
That means Richardson is that good.
Send Jacobs
so
and
if
your
the
7th
Raiders
pick
don't
to the
get
Bears.
one of those 4,
Yeah, Jacobs is a free agent. You can't trade him anyway. You can have they'll probably trade like Waller if they were going to do anything.
They can't sign and trade.
I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with franchise tag and all that stuff.
Right.
No. What I'm saying is when there's 7, you have 4 quarterbacks in the regular 7. It's kind of like in the cards for them to make a move on one of those 4.
Well, yeah.
Even if it's Richardson.
There's only 2 other players besides the 4 quarterbacks that are worthy of a top 5 pick, right? Carter and Anderson, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's only 6 picks.
Yeah. So that means that, but then you look at 2 of the teams there don't need quarterback because you got Kyler Murray and you got Jared Goff.
Right. And the Bears.
And the Bears. So it's 3 of the teams. Right.
Seahawks and the Lions.
So if no trades happen, the Raiders technically get a quarterback at 7.
Right.
They do.
Like I've been doing that stupid mock thing, even though it's ridiculously wrong every time.
Right.
But Stroud is there at 7 every time.
Right.
Because the Colts take Levis and the Texans take Young.
And why did the Colts take Levis? Because of fucking Mel Kiper. Mel Kiper thinks Levis is the greatest quarterback ever.
But haven't you heard the rant of the Mel Kiper against the Colts? It's one of the greatest rants ever. He's like, this is why the Colts are drafting at this position every year. So they make stupid decisions like this.
To be fair, the Colts have expressed a lot of interest in Levis, though.
Yeah.
So
and
it's
Bryce
not
Young.
it's not, and Bryce Young, of course, but to get Bryce Young, I think they know they have to go to number 1.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And I think for the Colts, I think the Colts want Bryce Young or Levis. And if they think they can get Levis at 4, which they can, and if they really end up liking him, they may not trade at all.
Yeah.
So that's the thing with the Colts right now is that's why he keeps going in all these drafts, is because the Colts legitimately have shown that they're interested in Levis.
And you'll see he's going to put on a performance and everyone's going to be like, oh my gosh, he's so good. He's a great white hope.
Right.
And he's not going to be any good, but someone's going to overdraft him.
By someone, you mean the Colts.
Hopefully.
The Colts move up to number 1 and take him.
Richardson scares me,
but
he also has the most talent.
He does.
We're going back to the back when we were talking, and I, was saying Bryce Young, and you guys were saying CJ Stroud. I am leaning more towards Stroud now. I think still Bryce Young is really good, and he'll probably be the number 1. But if I'm the Raiders, I want Stroud.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree too, because
I think I guess personally, I think Stroud has more upside long term. I think Bryce Young makes a bigger impact for you immediately. So, like, if you have a good team if he gets onto one of the decent teams, like say the Seahawks, that would be a good place for Bryce Young.
Sure.
Where CJ Stroud.
Imagine the Seahawks getting Bryce Young. That's just stupid.
But CJ Stroud has that upside.
Okay,
though.
I got DK Metcalf to throw to. Right. I got Lockett. Like, really? Is that fair?
So, but for a team like the Texans, I think CJ Stroud is better because they're building anyway, and he's going to build into a better quarterback eventually.
That sucks for CJ Stroud, though, because the fucking Texans are dysfunctional. They're so dysfunctional.
But they'll get better.
I'm like, I want to go to the Raiders.
Well,
dude, like if you get a pick between the Texans and the Raiders,
I'm taking the Texans.
How bad
you got DeMeco Ryans as your coach now.
Yeah, I think DeMeco Ryans coming in there. They played solid in a lot of games last year. Got a great running back, young running back.
Yeah, DeMeco Ryans makes them a legitimate team. He's legit. There's no doubt about that.
2 top 12 picks.
Right. So now you get another top pick at 12.
And then you get 2 picks next year in the first round because of the
Oh,
Sean Watson trade.
That's what. So this is why I see the Colts. I don't understand why you want Levis. The best thing for the Colts is to move up to one, take Bryce Young,
Yeah.
yeah.
because you have good weapons around him. You obviously got Jonathan Taylor. You got a decent line. You've got Pittman if he stays.
Yeah,
And they're
some receivers, but you can always draft. There's receivers late. There are receivers second, third round that you can pick up.
Although the Colts have drafted, oh, excuse me, the receivers they've drafted lately haven't been very good.
right.
Besides Pittman, but
Well, yeah.
they've
But
had a few bad picks.
there's receivers in the second, third round. Like, I mean, there's
Those
some
free
steals
agents. There's
later,
also a lot of free
mid
agents
round.
receivers.
Well, and this year I don't think maybe 2 or 3 receivers go in the first round. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody
No,
really cares.
most of the receivers go second, third round for
Yeah.
sure.
Here's my other surprise riser that's going to all of a sudden be like, why is this guy in the first round? Like my Richardson going 1. Washington for the tight end from Georgia.
Oh yeah, Washington.
He's going to go in the top 20.
You're right. And
He's a beast.
Who's the team, Derek? Who's the team you think is going to get Washington? That's going to be the biggest steal right there.
Well, I mean, there's tons I could see him with the Packers, the Ravens, the Patriots.
The Lions should get him.
Oh man,
that would be a steal.
Be like, haha, Hawkinson.
We don't need Hawkinson. We'll take. Dude, have you ever seen a guy? He's like what's his name from the Eagles years ago?
Keith Jackson.
He's a beast. I mean, he's like a stork. He's like a big guy. It's like
he didn't get the amount of attention, obviously, because when you've got the world class tight end on playing in front of you,
right? Who's they're saying is going to be a top 10 pick next year?
Yeah,
right.
I'll take Washington. If I was the Lions,
well, I'm waiting.
I could get him. I can get him at 22. I'll take him.
He's going to blow everyone away with his 40 time,
right?
And that's going to catapult him.
You know how everyone bragged about, LeBron James. We got to listen to this all the time about, if he would play football. That's LeBron James, but he looks bigger.
And he could take a hit. LeBron James would get hit one time. And then
he's from Georgia. He can take a hit.
Poor LeBron. He was a really good football player. That's the sad part. So let's jump in real quick though into March Madness for a second. So we'll do extended episodes on March Madness, but a couple things. So going into March Madness, people getting ready to set up their brackets. What's the advice that you have for somebody as they start to, they start to think about their brackets and, are there any things that stick out that they should think about? Like for me, it's like home teams or, like uh, teams that are playing near their normal place. Like if their bracket happens to be in Georgia and they're from that area, like I always look at that. That's one of the things I look at. Like if they're not traveling far, they're going to get a lot of home fans.
Regional. Yeah.
Regional. That's what I mean. So that's one thing I look at, right? The other thing I look at is so turnover ratio. I don't care what conference you played in. I don't care who you played, how tough your schedule is. I always look at turnover ratio of teams because if you don't turn the ball over and you create turnovers in basketball, you're going to do well, especially in college. So those are two things I look at as I'm looking at my bracket. So are there things like that you guys look at in those areas where it's not just like rankings of teams, right? A lot of people like, ones against 16s or, those things. Or maybe it is like, do you look at 512s? Do you look at those?
I've been watching. I've been trying to watch more college basketball. And I think the thing is you do have to watch it during the season to understand which team might be hot, which team has the talent. And I look at a couple teams like Connecticut. I think Connecticut's dangerous. they're going to come in as a 7 or an 8 seed. I think they're dangerous. I think Indiana's dangerous. Jackson Carter, dude, he's a beast. And
Yeah.
he's got a true freshman point guard at Indiana. Honestly, I haven't seen Indiana have that much talent in the last 20 years.
Don't they have
Indiana's dangerous.
Antonio Davis's son? Is that Indiana or is that Wisconsin?
That's Wisconsin.
Oh, okay.
But, we go Big Ten. I mean, Iowa.
Same uniform.
Dude, Iowa sat there and, Iowa's team. I mean, there's teams that can make a run. It's just,
So how do you look at those teams though? Like, how do you, if I'm making my bracket, how do I say, what do you look at to make Connecticut a dangerous team coming in as a 7-8 seed? Like, how do you make that determination?
well, it depends where they play. Depends what region they're in. You almost have to look at the bracket and say, okay, can they realistically make it to the Final Four?
Well, are you looking at maybe that they're hot right now? Maybe they've won 9 of their last 10, or like what going into the tournament?
What happened with Connecticut is they sucked in the middle of the season, and they're like, okay, what's wrong? They started off hot, they sucked in the middle, and now they're starting to get hot again.
Right.
They have big guys down low. They got this kid, they call him California. He's like their 6-man player. Like he just drops 3 points. He comes off the bench and drops 15, 16 points. It's just they have this it's kind of weird. You have this chemistry. They don't have to be the best players in the country. Everyone's like, oh, everyone's looking for another Mellow. It doesn't have to be that. It's just you have to look for the right pieces.
Right.
And if you look at college basketball, North Carolina, Duke, they are not in the mix anymore.
Well, they're going to go in as higher seeds, which I think is good for them.
Well, they're not even ranked.
Yeah, they'll still go.
And North Carolina's on a bubble.
Right.
They'll
go.
Kentucky's on the bubble.
Yeah.
And the traditional teams are not in the mix. And Kansas is the defending national champions. And they're probably the favorite overall because of the experience.
Yeah. Kentucky's definitely going. I mean, they're top 25.
They're not top 25. They're not
ranked. They're 23 right 23.
now. 23.
Oh, they moved up.
Well, I was going to say UConn is probably going to be a 4 seed, though. They're not going to be because they're 14th.
Yeah, UConn's going to go in at a little higher seed than that. Indiana ranked 15th overall. They're going to go in at a 4 or 5 seed.
4 or 5.
So yeah, I was looking at, but if you look at Duke and Carolina, I mean, they're still 19 and 11 and 22 and 8. So yeah, they're probably going to be in that 10 and 11 area.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. I've heard rumblings that Carolina might not make it, but
it depends how they do in the ACC tournament.
It's not about how good you are; it's how much money you make for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to make it over like a Boise State or something.
Right, and they have to have a decent ACC tournament too.
Yeah. Now, for me, what I look at is away records. I don't care about your home record because that's, your home. When you go into the tournament, you're not playing at home.
Right.
And the crowds are going to be neutral and everything like that, and who can be, but it's still going to be different. And that's how, like playing an away game. And so I look at teams like, I look at like Tennessee has a losing record away, and Texas is 4-6 away. They're 16-1 at home, but 4-6 on the road. So that always gives me a little bit of like, it's like, you can't win on the road.
Right. How are you going to do in a tournament when you're never at home?
And then the other big thing for me, and goes back to all the one and dones, is experience. You got to look at teams that have experience, that have been there before, that have played together before. That's why, and this is weird. Like Wes said, this is a weird year. Like the Blue Bloods, you have Kansas, you have UCLA up there. But right now, Houston and Alabama are 1-2.
Yeah.
Right.
Alabama, I'm not touching with a 10-foot pole, though, with all the drama that's going on with that.
Well, yeah. And it's like Houston always worries you, right? Because they play in such a weak conference.
But they're 10-0 on the road.
Yeah.
But
by Derek's theory.
They play great defense, but this is college basketball. Like,
right.
That only gets you so far unless you.
I've been burned by Houston before, so
it's because they don't have shooters.
I'm not touching Houston.
I'm leery of Houston, but they also, obviously by far the number one team in the country. 2 losses all year. Definitely had some good wins. Bama, though? Was it Alabama? Yeah.
I think it wasn't.
I mean, and Alabama, it's Alabama. They're going to get good recruits. The other question is like, because, Derek, you're talking about experience. I think this is important because then you have teams like, let's take like a Xavier, some of these other teams that they're going to go in with higher seeds, but they go to the tournament every single year, St. Mary's and.
Well, here's one,
who's the other one?
Gonzaga is going to be like a 3 seed, right?
Right.
People are going to forget about Gonzaga.
Because they're going to go in as a higher seed for sure. Because what did they rank?
I'm not picking them to win it all, though. But
11 or something like that right now.
Yeah, they're at 10.
They're have to get pretty hot.
I will say this: besides Kansas, I'm not trusting anyone from the Big 12.
But they definitely got 5 teams going.
Oh
yeah. Texas, Kansas State. I mean,
Baylor.
They're legit.
TCU.
Yeah. But I feel like the Big 12 is going to be the Big 10 of years past. Where they get a bunch of teams in and you're like, oh man, they're so good. They're beating up with each other. And then they go like 2 of them or 3 of them make it to the.
You almost wonder sometimes you're like, it's always Texas's year, but they never did it. It's like Texas is loaded. They have a lot of talent. They just can't do it.
Right.
They can't put it together.
Yeah, and they've lost 2 straight.
Yeah.
They lost to TCU and Baylor. So they lost to 2 ranked teams.
We forgot. We forgot about Baylor. Baylor's loaded.
Yeah, Baylor's their top 10.
Yeah.
So it's also the teams like so like VCU, right? They're there every year. They win their division. They're there. They got experience, but they're going to go in as a higher seed, and or a team like Memphis who may barely get into the
Memphis, yeah,
but they're there all the time.
Yeah,
and so I do look at that when I'm looking at the tournament of that experience of teams that maybe they are a higher seed. Maybe it's a 12 against a 5 or a 13 against a 4. But you might have these, those type of teams that you need to look at when you're putting together that bracket.
Yeah, I'm looking at the bracketology link. VCU right now has a 12 seed.
Right. They're a 12 seed every year. Almost, and they win their division their conference every year. So it'll be so that's, I guess that was kind of the question was, it's like, what kind of things besides like record and ranking can help with your bracket,
Well, you always got to look at shooting. If you got a team like as good 3-point shooters, they can make upsets.
Right.
They might not get far in the tournament, but they can make an upset in the first round.
Yeah, because all they have to do is shoot a high percentage.
Yeah. And people aren't used to that team, so they have no scouting really on them. And then
Well, you've seen teams like Western Kentucky go 2, 3 rounds hitting their threes, and then they don't hit threes, and all of a sudden they
Right.
score like 30 points and get blown out in the Sweet
Creighton, like
16.
when Creighton was good.
Right.
Yeah, they got, here's one, Iona.
Right. Every year Iona's there. So a lot of experience out of those. So I think experience matters. I think that's a good that should be something you look at. Like how often are they in the tournament? How many tournaments have they been to?
Another thing, and this would be delving into it, is do they play any weird or not traditional types of defense?
Oh, okay.
Because I look at the back in the day, Syracuse always played like the 1-3-1 and the two, or like the Razorbacks with the 60 minutes of hell, full court
Right.
pressure the whole time. There's no way to practice that. And so in the tournament, you can't really get a feeling for that. So if you got a team that plays a weird zone or comes at you nonstop with pressure in full court, if you look at the teams and you notice, oh, they're weak at point guard.
Yeah, they're not ready for it.
Yeah.
Or what about weird offenses, in a Princeton
Yeah.
UCLA type situation?
Ball control, yes.
Right. Or Davison, with Curry.
Yep.
So there's definitely
That's what's interesting about basketball. It just takes one player to be
right.
hot to win a game.
Yeah, especially college basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess so coming in, talking about the tournament in general, like is Houston the favorite would be my last question there.
By default, but
Kind of, yeah.
I don't know if I'm putting tons of money on that.
I mean, technically, if they're number one, they are a favorite, but the fact that they are not the best scoring team, they're all about defense. They have athletic players, but look what happened last year. They couldn't do it because they didn't have the right scoring at the right time.
Right.
And that matters in college basketball, you know? So technically, kind of they're the favorite, but not by a lot.
Kansas, I think would be a favorite because they're
the champions.
Yeah.
And they got Brady Dick, basically a freshman of the year. I mean, they're loaded. It's just a matter, can they navigate their way through the Big 12 and through the tournament?
Man, Houston has not played a tough schedule, but obviously they lost to Bama, but they beat Virginia. They really haven't played anybody besides that.
That's why I think it
But
opens up
dude,
for teams like Indiana, even Virginia. Everyone's sleeping on Virginia.
when you
I remember
when you have Sheed and Sasser though, like that's tough, man. That's tough.
Yeah.
And then you got to look at okay, so maybe Houston hasn't played the toughest competition. Gonzaga never does either, and they still make it far. They don't win, but they make it far.
And the weird thing is, everyone's sleeping on Gonzaga. We never know. They can make a run.
I don't think they have the shooting though. That's been their issue the last few years.
So. But look at UCLA. They're ranked fourth. I don't think UCLA is that good. They're ranked. Don't they have the longest streak in the NCAA?
I like UCLA going
They're
far.
Good. But they
I probably got them going. I probably got UCLA going to the Final Four. I mean, I'll have to see the bracket, but they're so long of a team. I mean,
what about Arizona? I'm watching Arizona right now playing USC.
Yeah, Arizona.
Arizona's dominating.
They lost their last game. Who'd they lose to? Arizona State. Ugh.
Yeah, no, Arizona's had a tough.
They lost on the last section. Like they got lucky.
Arizona
beat USC right now by 16.
You were close. The best. Houston has got won 9 straight. UCLA's won 8 straight.
Right. Well, I think it's 10-9 now, right? Didn't they both just win recently?
Oh, is it? This was when was this updated?
I think it's Houston's 10 in a row and UCLA is 9 in a row.
No, this is up to date. Um, their last game they had Houston beating Wichita State. Their next game is Sunday. Or UCLA. Did they play today? No. Unless they played today.
Yeah, UCLA's got 9 in a row.
Yeah.
Okay, then they must have played today then.
Yeah, they're the two. They got the two longest streaks between the two of them, but still, they're 26-4. UCLA is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, that's a good record, you know. And
Right.
the Pac-12 is not weak, so
Let's
it's not
lost to
like they're
Illinois
playing.
early, which doesn't I don't count early games.
Yeah, early it's hard to judge. Is it even the what's the yes the Pac-12? Yeah. I guess they only have really Arizona and UCLA.
Yeah, they
USC's
lost
not
to
bad.
Arizona and USC and
US,
UCLA. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, USC's not
USC
bad.
and Arizona, UCLA lost to.
Yeah. So I like UCLA. Um, I think you don't want to play a team like Kentucky ever going into
You
the
know,
tournament,
doesn't
and
matter
they're
what seed they are because they're going to be a low. They're going to be like 8.
yeah they'll
But
go in like
you don't
yeah
want to
an
play
eight
them.
because
Yeah,
they're a
they
top
both count.
25.
Yeah.
So that should be interesting.
But still the conference championships do matter.
Right.
Like some of these teams are on the bubble. Like even some of them have losing records. They can win those tournaments.
Yeah. Well, and that's it's also like how you perform in that. So North Carolina, for example, if they go to the finals of their conference tournament and lose, they probably still get in.
Yeah.
You know, I think that makes a difference for some teams like that. It's important for you to have a good showing. If you go and you get blown out in game one, round one of your conference finals, you probably don't make it
Yeah.
as a North Carolina.
Yeah. True.
There's a few other teams that I could see like that too.
Plus, there's what 68 teams now that make it.
Right, right.
Yeah. Let's just it.
Because you got the play-in games now, which is,
Yep.
I mean, that's cool. It's fine. I think that gives actually a chance for them to not have to say we're taking this team because they make more money than you do. It's like instead we'll give you a chance to play in.
Well, someone was saying, and this would be hilarious, Kentucky, North Carolina in a playing game.
Right. Yeah, that would be weird.
That would be really weird.
Or Duke, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Because Duke's not ranked either.
No.
That'd be tough for them. So yeah, I mean, we'll get once the conference tournaments go, then you get start with the brackets and stuff. It'll give us a lot more ideas on there. But I like to, I don't watch a ton of college basketball throughout the year. I always watch the conference tournaments, and I always obviously watch the Sweet Six or the March Madness. But I think there's a lot of data in college basketball that you can use to help you when you're making your picks. More so than a lot of other sports. I think data is really important in college basketball. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up here. Any final thoughts? We talked a lot of draft stuff tonight. We'll get more into combine maybe next week because it'll be wrapping up here
We get the
in
running
another
backs
4
and
days.
receivers and everything running, see what their
Yeah.
40s are.
Yeah, can't wait for the draft. Like combine will wrap up here soon. I can't wait for free agency. There's so many things happening in the NFL offseason. Like this is I think it's going to be one of the most movements you've seen in a draft and in free agency in quite a while. So that would be my take on the NFL offseason.
Yeah.
Football's over, but there's still a lot going on.
Right. Well, and typically, like I said, that's why I think this for me anyway, I feel like this offseason has a lot more to offer than a lot of off seasons.
Yeah.
Uh, there's always, exceptions, but with the amount of quarterbacks in the draft and the amount of people who need quarterbacks and the amount of trades that can happen and teams that really are willing to trade back, it's not often you've got three of the top five who don't need quarterbacks and your top 7 or 6 guys are quarterbacks. Like that makes for an interesting
Well, that's the envy is being a Bears fan. It's got to be really good for you having 100 million in cap space.
yeah.
You have your quarterback, and you have this pick that can grant you tons of capital.
I do love the draft capital and the picks that they can get out of it. I'm more interested to see what they do with their cap and if they can say, look, we have a franchise quarterback, and if they can entice some good free agents to come over with money and then get, a couple nice defensive players out of the draft, that would be the
Yeah.
ideal situation. So that's what I'm hoping for. But the Bears. They probably won't get a trade, and they'll draft Carter, and he'll go to jail.
Well, the Raiders will probably draft someone that sucks also, and then they'll sign Jimmy G for like 30 million.
Yeah, they'll draft like a tackle.
Don't say that.
Yeah, they'll draft one of the tackles.
No
And
fair.
Right. That was probably normally going in the third round. They'll be like, no, this is the guy. And then they'll pull him up from third round and get him at 7 overall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe and like. If you're watching on Anchor or listen on Anchor Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, appreciate listening, and we'll see you all next time.